So let's bring on our guest tonight, Alexander Cheves. Alexander, come into my basement.
Hey,
And I'm
hey.
sure you've been in some basements before, haven't you?
Say that again?
Have you been in any basements before?
Oh, a few. One too many.
A few. All right. Now, looking at your biography, one of the first two words are sex worker. First of all, I want to know, where did you grow up?
I grew up all over the place. I grew up in Zambia and South Africa and West London and Georgia, South Carolina, everywhere. I hopped around
Now,
quite a bit.
why was that?
That's a whole story. I wrote a book about it. My parents were evangelical missionaries.
That's an interesting start right there.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll leave that for a second now. And how old were you, and where did you start being a sex worker?
I was 19 when I got my first client, so I was not even old enough to go to a bar, and it started very casually. I was in college,
Where was
and
this?
it started the way I think a lot of people start. Somebody offered to sweeten the deal. Somebody wanted a sexual encounter, and I said no, and then they incentivized a little bit, and I said yes. And I didn't treat it as a business until years later. And once I got better at it, I
Where was this when you had your first encounter?
my first encounter, goodness, it was in downtown Savannah, Georgia, right outside of Club One.
All right. And so you had sex for money. Someone paid you for to have sex with them. Was that frequent then from then on?
That was the first one was a one-timer that never continued. But later on, I learned how to treat it like a business, and I learned how to set a rate and provide a specific experience. And later on, I learned how to keep and maintain clients like a
Okay, so,
business.
so you said you learned that. How does one learn that?
Honestly, the best thing to do is to ask people who've been doing it for any amount of time. I had to learn from other professionals, as with any kind of professional job. So
Sex workers are looked down on as prostitutes, as whores. What is your feeling about that, the negative term sex worker?
well, I think that the term sex worker has become the nice way to describe the business. I think prostitute is still kind of smacks of a of a it's a more derogatory term. But I think a lot of people prefer now to say sex worker just because sex work can encompass porn, it can encompass intimacy coaching, it can encompass having sex. Sex work I think is a little bit more broad, whereas prostitution is a very specific label. Prostitution is, generally speaking, the illegal practice of trading sex for money. Whereas sex work encompasses content creators and online performers and dancers and strippers and erotic performers that don't necessarily trade sex for money.
What
Um,
what is the percentage of your work that goes into intimate coaching, um, dancing on videos, and that type of thing?
I'm terrible at porn, so I'm not a very good porn star. I had
Why
to
is
learn
that?
that the hard way. I
What
don't have the skills needed to be good at porn. So
why is that? Well, you said you found out the hard way, but
because I tried, and it's so hard. Porn is so hard.
why? Tell me why it was difficult for you.
You have the skills to necessarily be good at sex and be good at intimacy are not necessarily the skills to be a good performer. Porn stars are good at porn, which is not necessarily the same thing as being good at sex. They're good at performing sex. And I am not good at performing sex. I'm good at connecting with people, um, having intimate experiences, having authentic connection, building trust, all the ingredients that are necessary for a good sexual encounter. That's where I feel like in person, that's where I do best. But when you put a camera in the mix, suddenly it's a show, it's a performance, and then it feels inauthentic, and I don't do that.
I
So
understand. I totally understand. Okay, so as a sex worker, do you have an average client, or is there a demographic that is
sure,
attracted to you?
my average client, I tend to get people who are well, it's two. I have two average clients. The one is someone who is young, my age or a bit younger, and is brand new to sex, first time experiences. And then the other client, I think the more common client, is someone who is either a divorcee or a widow and is coming to sex either after a very long break or has never fully come out and explored sex and is exploring it much later in life. So retirees and people who are coming out late, like 60 and up. I'm really good at helping people explore sex for the first time in a safe and comfortable environment. And I think I tend to work better with people some years older than me.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. How do they contact you? How do they find you?
So I use a website called Rentman, which is it's the only one that I think has a good foothold in the United States. Um, it's it's uh, it's not the website isn't based in the US, which is why it's able to be used because any US based website is going to get raided by the feds, as what happened with Rent Boy. Um, so Rent Men, I'm it's based somewhere in Europe, and I honestly can't tell you where, but it's the one that all the US guys use.
Now, do you have to pay to be on that, or do they get money from the
So I
Dom? So
have to
that
pay a
is
monthly premium to have a premium account. So and that it goes up, gradually. I mean, it's not cheap. So I have to deduct an hour of work every month just to be on the website. It's a business expense. So,
how many hours a week do you work at the sex work?
increasingly less. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and so I find that the amount that I'm willing to work in sex work has decreased. I also write, and so I mean, I published a book last year, and so as writing has grown, um, I find that my bandwidth, my ability to see a lot of clients quite frequently, like I used to be able to do when I was a bit younger, has decreased. It's exhausting. So
Oh yes,
yeah.
things happen once one's ages a bit. How old
Yeah.
are you right now, if I may ask?
Beg your pardon?
How old are you right now, if I may
I'm
ask?
30.
30. Looking good, looking good. Um, what are your boundaries? What do you, when someone says, I want to hire you for sex, are there things you say, I won't do that?
Yes. So I do a lot of fetish and kink, and there are certain just primarily for safety issues, I won't be physically incapacitated with the
Meaning
client.
bound or tied up or
Bound or tied up.
okay.
Yeah. I just for my own personal safety, unless somebody has been a regular client for some time and I have experience with them and I know that they're safe. With new clients, I never do bondage or any kind of physical incapacitation, either for myself or for them. I feel like it takes some time to develop that kind of rapport.
Mhm.
Um, I won't. If people are looking for someone to be really rough and degrading and harsh, which is certainly a a form of sex work that is quite popular.
Sure.
That's not really my jam. That's not really what I do. I want to make people feel safe, not be rough. And sometimes that's what people are looking to pay for, and that's not what I do.
You mentioned intimacy coach. Do you do any of that?
I the more I write, because I write sex education guides and I write about sex ed, and the more I write, I find that more and more people actually come to me from my writing, and so they'll come with very specific questions, and they'll and I can I like the clients where I'm able to teach more so than just provide a sexual experience.
Did COVID change your occupation in any way?
Well, I mean, I had like every other sex worker, I had to stop for a while, which was a struggle. You know, I mean, just like everybody else who has an in-person job, I struggled to pay the bills there for a little bit. But if anything, certainly right after COVID, work skyrocketed because people had been withheld from from sex and intimacy for so long, and yeah, so COVID actually kind of jump started things a bit as soon as things kind of started to get a bit safer.
All right. All right, Alexander, thank you so much. We have more to talk to you about, and we'll get right back to you. All right, Alexander, come back in. All right. You mentioned many times that you write. How did your writing career start?
So that's an interesting journey. I studied writing at college and
Where did you go to school?
SCAD in Savannah College of Art and Design.
Okay.
Yeah,
SCAD.
SCAD. Yeah,
Okay.
SCAD. Not the other one. Yeah. I studied
Technology, not
writing.
technology.
Yeah. Savannah College of Art and Design, just so
Okay.
everybody knows. Um, and I started a blog actually as a school assignment, and I was writing about relationships and sex kind of just for fun. And a magazine based out of Chicago, somehow, I still don't know how, they found the blog and they asked me to be a columnist for them. That magazine doesn't exist anymore, but that got me some experience writing columns and sex advice and stuff like that. And then I applied for an internship with The Advocate in Los Angeles, and I got it, and so I moved to LA, and the internship led to a column, which was Sexy Beast, which ran for a bit, and that led to being a contributor, a regular contributor for all the LGBTQ magazines. So
You're in Germany right now as we speak.
yeah,
Why Germany?
I had to get out of New York.
Why is that?
New York got. I mean, it's unspeakably expensive, and I, I'm trying to figure out if I want to necessarily stay in such an expensive place. But Germany was a goal for a long time. I wanted to be part of its sex culture. I wanted to experience the nightlife. Well, okay, specifically Berlin culture has a lot of things that I love, and I wanted to see them in person. So,
What's the difference from the sex culture in Berlin than New York City?
well, parties last 5 times as long, and you can do whatever you want. It's
What do you mean by that? You can't do whatever you want in New York?
no, no. New
Give me
York
some
is a
examples.
New York is a tame city. People move to New York thinking that it's like 1985, and New York is now I mean, it's run by billionaires. It's a very cleaned up city. All the cruising is gone. There's not, all the sex happens in private spaces. There aren't sex clubs anymore. They can't stay open. Um, there are very stringently enforced laws against sex in a bar, or I mean, there are no more back rooms in New York City, which is just crazy. Yeah, there's no more back rooms in New York. So New York has heavily policed and clamped down on what you can do in a public place, and And Berlin is still, this. It's still Babylon. It's still this
In your
wonderful.
in the advice columns that you write, what are some common themes that people write to you about?
Everybody wants to know how to bottom and how to douche.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
That's
hardest. Yeah, it's the hardest part, right? Yeah.
seriously, that's what people want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it I could divide half of all the questions I receive into there's the specific how-to sex questions, which tend to err on the side of how do I bottom? And then there's the relationship questions, which tend to be I'm in a relationship, I want to play with other people, my partner says no, or we both want to play with other people and we don't know how to navigate that or what that's called. And they're looking for either permission to be non monogamous or they're looking for ways to have that conversation with their partner, or they're looking for me to say that you need to break up, which is most of the time what the answer is. If you want to be open and your partner doesn't want to be open, it's a deal breaker. So yeah.
Shilala from Canada asked us, "How do you keep the romance going?"
I think that the best way to keep the romance going is for one, to maintain constant dialogue and communication with your partner. I think a lot of times we get in these scripts of behavior that keep us behaving according to a existing standard or expectation. I tell everybody if you want to keep the fire in the relationship, to keep the dialogue going, you should talk about 5 things every couple months, and that's friends, family, fucking, finance, and feelings. And if you can talk about those 5 things with complete honesty and transparency, even schedule it, like schedule a sit down talk every 2 to 3 months and talk about
On
money.
The first Friday to go along with all those other F's you were
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah. As long as you talk about those, the 5 F's, you're fine. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Are you currently in a relationship? Have you ever been in one?
I've been in a few, yeah, but I am not currently in one right now.
All right. Ooh, guys. Hello there. Hello there. All right. Let's see. Dave Brown has a question here. Have you thought about doing an audio version of your excellent book?
So that's a question I get quite a bit. We will be doing an audio version. We will not. We probably won't be doing an ebook anytime soon. That'll be a little bit longer.
All
So,
right. Well,
but we are planning to do an audio book.
all right. We're going to talk about your books in our next segment. Just sit right there, Alexander, and we'll be right back to you. Thank you so much for Sip and Review. Thank you, Lucy Bell. All right. Let's bring Alexander Cheves back in. Alexander, I got a glimpse of some tattoos. All right, we've got a picture of you with with your tattoos. If we can show that. All right, you've got quite a few there. Tell us about your first tattoo and what got you started.
So I don't know if you can see it. My first it
Oh,
is everything's backwards. Is the feather here?
yes.
Um, I mean, I have quite a few. I don't know. I love tattoo culture. I love tattoo artistry. I like to support tattoo artists, and yeah.
How many tattoos do you have?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, at this point, I've lost count because I mean, my entire chest is done. In fact, I have a lot more tattoos even than in that photo.
You can
I,
take your shirt off if you'd like.
yeah.
I'm not going to stop you.
So I
Yes.
have. This is the name of my book in sort of a script. Um, I don't. Everything's backwards on the video.
Yes.
This is a quote from my favorite movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Um, This is the name of my grandmother who passed away, who I was very, very close to. I have a hummingbird. I don't know if you can see
Oh,
here.
yes, yes.
Yeah, that's my tattoo roll.
You don't have to put your shirt back on. That's fine. That's fine. We're
Yeah.
casual here. Do you have any below your waist?
I beg your pardon?
Do you have any tattoos below your waist?
I have Leonard. I have Leonard. Here, I'll show you. I have a Leonard. I have these two Leonard Cohen quotes. I can't stand on the chair. So here.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Oh, yeah. And what are those?
They're quotes by Leonard Cohen, my favorite singer.
Oh, how nice. How nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. All right. All right.
So have I made you blush yet?
Oh, that was pretty good.
Yay.
That was pretty good. Okay, tell me about your books. That you've written. Tell me about those.
I'm sorry. Say again one time.
Tell me about the books that you've written.
So I have written a memoir, a sex memoir about my life, and coming out, I believe this month, is a anthology that I contributed an essay to, and my next book should publish in 2024.
And what's that about?
I can't say yet.
Ooh. Oh, well, you'll have to come back and talk to me about
You'll have
that.
to. I have to come back. Yeah, the second one is its own journey.
Okay, My Love is a Beast. What was that? I'm sorry, Russell, throw that back. My Love is a Beast Confessions. Tell me about that book. What it's about.
Well, it started off as a collection of essays. In fact, to be completely honest, I still very much see the book as a collection of nonfiction essays. But when you put nonfiction essays in chronological order, you have a memoir. So we
Yeah.
sold it as a memoir. But I still see the book as individual moments in my life that were each their own version of a sexual discovery or a personal discovery. I mean, I write about testing positive over 10 years ago and what that was like, and because that was before prep, and how different that was, and how drastically prep changed life for me as a HIV positive man. Uh, I write about. I mean, my parents, as I've said, are conservative Christians, missionaries, and so juxtaposing, coming to terms with that and with the work that I do was a big part of writing the book.
What is your relationship with your parents right now?
It's as good as it can be. I'm very, very grateful for it. It's taken time to get to where we are now. But I'm quite happy with where we're at. They do not read my work, nor do I think they should, um, and that's okay. I think that's kind of the necessary rule of our relationship, is that they don't need to know all the stuff that I write, and that's where we're at. So
Where are they now?
they live in Georgia. Yeah, about not too far from Atlanta.
Do you have siblings?
I have a sister.
And
Yeah.
what's her idea of what you're doing?
Oh, Rebecca is amazing. She's great. I have a sort of a I have a sort of an unspoken rule with her that I don't talk too much about her life, because I want to respect her privacy as much as I can. But Rebecca and I both had to sort of take our journey out of the way that we were raised. Neither one of us became these ardent conservative Christian people. We both rebelled in our own way.
Very cool. One more question about your tattoos. What's the one on your neck there? Those numbers.
This one right here.
Yes.
So, do you know what ICD-10 codes are?
No.
So this is the ICD-10 code, which is an international health code. Um, it's the code for various different diseases and health risks and conditions. And this is high risk homosexual behavior.
Alexander, you're fascinating. I just love talking to you. I can't wait to find out what your next book is about. You'll have to come back and talk to me. Thank you so much for being so open with us. Russell, let's make sure we put up there all the contact information for Alexander that people want to reach out to. Because, I'd just love to talk to you about a lot of other things as well. Thank you so much. Now go out to the clubs and have some fun that you can't do in New York.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh,
All
it's been so
right.
much fun. Thank you for having me. This is so cool.
It was a pleasure for me as well. Thank you, Alexander.